The cause of your migraines and your nausea and your insomnia and your backache and your midnight emotional eating is because you have been treated like less than you are. When you are in a space that honors the truth of you, you can breathe and rest and laugh and have joy. And so we recognize the work of Black psychologists who have called for us to decolonize our mental health and to operate from a standpoint of liberation. To be decolonial is to disrupt all of the pathways, plans, and systems that are meant to disconnect us from ourselves. Black liberation psychology is a psychology that calls for us to reimagine the truth of who we are. And when I reimagine the truth of who we are, then I think about what will it look like for me to be free? When I am free, what do I talk like? What do I love like? What do I study like? What do I write like? What do I create like when I am free? Oh, you are a dangerous being. That's why there is so much focus on distracting you from the truth of you. If you could self-destruct, then it would immobilize us and dehumanize us. But because of your great traditions, you show up with a radical resistance and a commitment to reclaiming your life and your truth. And so we seek to be whole. What are the pathways so that we can embody liberation? They are cultural resources. Say with me, culture is medicine.
Culture is medicine.
When I recognize the beauty of being Black, it frees me. When I recognize the genius of being Black, it frees me. Another pathway is our spirituality and our religiosity, the kind of faith that will move mountains, so that instead of me being moved by racism and sexism have to back up because I showed up. Not only that, but we recognize the pathway of community care. Oppression seeks to isolate you because if you're by yourself, you can be dominated. So it means something that you showed up to Hampton University. It means something that you showed up to the Decolonial Conference. It means something that we showed up and gathered in this space, because when I see my reflection, I'm reminded of the truth of who I am. We also recognize the pathway of expressive arts. To dance, to write poetry, to write music, to do theater. All of these things, including spoken word and visual art, are acts of resistance that honor our humanity. And then we are able to move to restoration through our resistance strategies. That we do not have to accept things the way they are, but instead we create the way things must be. And so as we think about Black psychology, we are reminded of Sawubona. Sawubona is the Zulu greeting, which simply means I see you. Can you say Sawubona?
Sawubona.
Turn and tell somebody, Sawubona. I see you. I see you. I see you. In spite of everything that tries to render you invisible and powerless and pointless, when I show up in this space, committed to seeing you, it is a reminder to you of who you are. And when you remember who you are not backing down, you are not backing out, you are not dropping out. You are the head and not the tail. You are above and not beneath. You can say to the mountain, move, and it shall move. Not only that, but we understand from Black psychology, Ubuntu. Ubuntu speaks to the I am because we are, and it speaks to the sacred beingness of us as opposed to the busyness of us. Capitalism wants to teach you that you have to perpetually chase significance. Black psychology says in your being, in your essence, the creator of the universe sees you and already says that's good. No matter your GPA, that's good. No matter your major, that's good. No matter your awards or lack of awards, that's good. And so when I am clear about the sacredness of my being, that I am good, then I don't have to chase it. Turn and tell somebody, stop chasing. Start being. Start chasing. Start being. Start being. And then we recognize in Black psychology the value of Nguvu Saba, the principles of Kwanzaa, that include self-determination. I define me. Social media does not define me. Who people have decided is the leading lady does not define me. My income does not define me. I get to define me, and because I define me, then everything that attempts to crunch me and erase me is powerless. And so we are intentional about defining ourselves. We also understand from the Kwanzaa principles and Nguvu Saba the importance of purpose. You are here on purpose, with purpose, and for purpose. And so you are not easily moved by the challenges of these times because it's not by accident that you're here. Somebody say Nia means purpose.
Nia means purpose.
And then we also recognize the importance of Imani. Imani means faith. And when you have faith, you don't give up easily. You are not easily shaken. We come from a people that understand the miraculous. And so when we look at statistics would say that we are at risk. But because I am not determined by statistics or defined by statistics, instead I say that I am a soul being, having a soul experience, and I shall not be moved. And so I have come on today to reactivate your faith, to remind you who you are and whose you are, to help you to understand that you were created on purpose, with purpose to shift the tide. And so from the standpoint of Black liberation theology and the Black church tradition, we believe in the laying on of hands, that by our sacred touch, we remind each other of our worthiness. Can you just grab the hand of somebody next to you and tell them you're worthy? We understand, based in Black liberation theology, the gift of being slain in the spirit, that sometimes you just need to go lay down and be reminded of the sacredness of yourself. We understand in Black liberation theology the gift of praying in tongues. It was illegal for us to speak our African indigenous languages, and so most of us did not learn them. And so what does it mean for the Spirit to lead me in speaking unknown tongues? And so we speak them and honor our resistance. Do you understand how mad white supremacists get when they see imagery of a Black Jesus? Oh, they get mad. They're like, who's that? That's Jesus. Can I tell you what makes them more angry than that? When they image of God as a black woman. Who in the world is that? That's God. Made in the image and likeness of who we are. And so when we see ourselves as sacred beings, we are not easily moved or terrified. When we gather in Black church tradition and name ourselves our familial terms, brother such and such, and sister such and such, because the intentionality was to disconnect us from each other. And so when I see you and recognize you and name you as belonging to me, and that I belong to you, then we have power. That's why they made it illegal for us to gather. We understand within our Black liberation model the role of elders. Scripture says that when you are going through a tough time, call on the elders to pray for you. So we do not discard our elders. We understand that they are connected to the divine. Not only that, in our gathering, we move from nobody to somebody. That people who had been erased all week long are now the head of usher board number 3. Oh, that we adorn ourselves and call ourselves elder and bishop and queen and king. We get to name and value ourselves. We occupy the space of ministry. That it is not only about worship to the Most High, but how we can serve each other. We are a generous people, and we believe in helping each other to survive. And then the Black church tradition is about embodiment. That's why we praise dance and shout and lift up holy hands and declare that these bodies are holy. Turn and tell somebody you're holy. Turn back and tell them you fine too. We reject and rebuke every lie that would say that we are ugly, that we are not enough, that we are insufficient. Instead we say, as Shook would say, all of this is holy. All of this is holy. This is why we also, many of us grew up making Easter speeches, which is why when you got into Hampton, it wasn't your first time speaking in front of a community, which is why you weren't intimidated when the teacher said you got to get up and make a speech. That's what we do. That's who we are. That we gather in literacy programs and in tutorial programs, and we make ourselves speak the truth and the essence of our identity. Another part of our pathway is community care. A colonized psychology only focuses on self-care. What are you going to do for you? But we understand the value of collective care. What are we gonna do for we? What are we gonna do for we? Turn and tell somebody, I got you. I got you. Turn back and tell them, you're not in it by yourself. And so we learn how to care for each other. It takes a village. And then we recognize the gift of our expressive arts. That in our singing and in our dancing is our healing. So let me just ask you to just shimmy to one side and shimmy to the other side. I would shimmy to one side and shimmy to the other side. That when we move our bodies, we are releasing our stress and reclaiming our sacred worth and value. write our poetry and our rhymes. We reclaim our narratives. And finally, we acknowledge resistance. Resistance is the difference between Black psychology and Western psychology. Western psychology teaches you just to cope. How do you deal with racism? Take a bubble bath. Drink some jasmine tea. Listen to some nice music. That's all lovely, and yet insufficient. And so how do I deal with oppression? I resist. I boycott. I gather. I say, you're not going to get my dollars, and you dehumanize my people. And so we not only resist in formal protest, but we also recognize rest is resistance. We go take a nap. Our humor is an act of resistance. You can't laugh like Black folk. You can't beat us in laughing. You cannot beat us in laughing. We, the most traumatized and the most humorous people on the planet. And so we resist. And the ways in which we resist allow us to rehumanize ourselves and honor ourselves. And we do that in our therapy, we do that in our research, we do that in our teaching, we do that in creating policies. We resist hierarchies and declare that each of us is worthy. We recognize that when we are at home with ourselves, there is nothing, not one thing, that can destroy us. That we are the head and not the tail. And so I invite you to repeat after me in this chant. In wisdom may we walk all day long, may we walk. In wisdom may we walk all day long, may we walk. In justice may we walk all day long, may we walk. In justice may we walk all day long, may we walk. In love may we walk all day long, may we walk. In love may we walk all day long, may we walk. And for every blessing we forgot, we say, do, 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 do. Give yourselves a big hand.